Welcome everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Kelby Williams. I've been in business banking and small business in various food and beverage and consulting areas, and being a small business management consultant for going on 30 years now. Today we're going to have a chat about the business life cycle, not just the mindset, but some of the strategies that you can use to make sure that the whole idea of your audacious idea through the profitable exit, that actually happens for you. Right? And a lot of that is simply planning, just knowing that you're going to go through pretty much 4 stages of business. Every business life cycle has pretty much the same 4 stages, and at each of those stages there are different things that you need to do. There's a mindset that you need to walk into the room with. There are certain ways of doing things that just work. We know they work. We've seen them work time and again. So let's just roll through that. This will take about half hour, 40 minutes, and then we'll punch out some questions, and then we'll get on with our day. Okay, so welcome everybody. Let's go the business life cycle. Now, in the beginning, there's supposed to be some music with this, like some sort of portentous sort of music. Anyway, in the beginning, this is when you've got your really cool idea and you're going to take it from a dream or this theory that you want to put in place, and you're going to take it into the real world, and you're going to make it all happen. Right? You're going to change the world. You're going to be the new sliced bread. And this is when you start thinking about the same. You get these same questions. Right? This is what's going to go through your mind. I'll guarantee you. And it doesn't matter whether you're a startup, whether you're a tech startup, where you're going to start a traditional business, or you're buying out somebody. Okay, they're the same 5 questions. Will it work? Well, okay, look, it's working now, particularly with buyouts, okay, but it's going to work for me with me in charge. Even if you're in the business buying out management, not just walking into something cold, in the business buying out management, is it going to work for me with me in charge? How do I get started? Okay, because going from employee to business owner, or entrepreneur in one industry to entrepreneur in another, like how do you make that jump, that step? How do you manage it? Okay, and this is actually not a silly question, because there's a lot of people who start businesses and then they exit because they're not managers. Okay, they can start something, they can get it growing, but keeping it going, it's not what they do. Okay, so they exit and they go start something else and have somebody else who runs businesses take over, and they then go with it and they go do something else. Okay, and how do you protect all your ideas? That's the big one. I put it last because we're actually going to spend a few minutes on that later. And that's huge, all right? If you're in a startup, even if you're a traditional business, it makes no difference. That's huge, okay? And it's not so much because the money's in the ideas, because the money's in the execution. You want to make sure you cover that off. So, right about now, okay, like I said, I've been through this a couple of times, okay? You get a bit of self-doubt, you get a bit of fear, and you're excited as hell, right? If that's where you're feeling, cool, you're on track, okay? That's where you're supposed to be at. That's what's supposed to happen. Do not panic, okay? Big flashing red button, don't panic, all right? Where you're at now is a critical time where you get to lay down the basic foundations for success. Okay? This is where you take all that fear, that excitement, that self-doubt, all that joy, and you channel that into getting to the point where you can get started, okay? It's a great opportunity to be super productive without actually putting anything out to the market. All right? But there we go. And here are the 5 questions that you need to lay out. Okay, and if we just go back a couple of slides, you look at these 5 here. Then will it work? Will it work for me? How do I get started? How do I manage it? How do I protect all my ideas? They flow through into these 5s. Okay. And that is, what are you doing? What's your big idea? What's the problem you're solving? And every business exists to solve a problem. Okay, it doesn't matter what you're doing, and really, it actually really doesn't matter what you're doing. You're simply solving a problem. Okay, so what's the problem you're fixing? What's your big idea? And why? Your reason for doing it. And that is super critical. I will hammer that for the next half an hour, because that is the foundation and the bones of everything we do in business. Okay, why are you the person to make this happen? Okay, why? Who? Who's doing this? Like, who are the principles of the business? What structure are you using? What are you bringing in to fill the gaps? We'll cover this off in a sec. How are you going to solve a problem? Okay, well, you know what the problem is. You know that you're the person to do it. You know why you're doing it. How are we going to make that happen? Right? What's the actual physical mechanicals? Do we need people? Do we need plant? Do we simply need an internet connection? How are we going to do it? And the timelines, start to finish. And when I say start to finish, I don't mean from now until we launch, or from now until we've got 3 years under our belt. I mean, start right now through to exit, a successful exit. And that's the whole point of today's talk, is that planning process, getting to that successful exit. And you plan that at the start. Okay, first thing you do before you get into business is plan how you get out. Okay, because so many people don't, for one, and for two, if you think about how you want to exit at the start, then you can structure things on the principles of structure. You can set things up so that that exit is as smooth as possible. If you try and plan your exit 3 months out from when you really want to get out, you may end up having a lot of very complicated, expensive unwinding to do and restructuring, which is, how should I put this, suboptimal. All right. So think about it at the start. How are you going to exit? Okay. Now, important point. You don't need the answers right now. Okay. We're looking at a new shiny idea. We don't have to answer every question. Okay. But you've got to have the questions there. You've got to know which questions you're asking so you can set it up right, because business is tough. It's not easy. And if you get it right at the start, you can eliminate a lot of the dramas that trip other people up. Okay. So that's second stage, we're going to lay the foundations. All right. And often this isn't a set timeline, as in the whole conceptual stage will take X number of months, the next stage takes X number of months. It doesn't work like that. Okay. Sometimes that whole conceptual stage can take a week. Okay. Got a business I was sitting out with a friend of mine. He has spent 6 months on the conceptual stage, and we went from there to actually laying the foundations in 2 days. We had it all mapped out. Now, admittedly, we've got a lot of resources on tap. We've been there, done that, but it can be that quick. Okay, it takes the time it takes. Okay, so don't panic, just get on with it. All right. So this is when we start to do some research. This is when we start to find the resources to make our idea a reality, and we start to build the structure which takes it forward. Okay, and this is where we answer those questions that we laid out before. Right? We map it all out and make sure we're heading in the right direction, and we've got the structure that's going to make it all happen. All right. So these are the big ones. Now, we've covered that off. Okay, what's the problem you're fixing? Okay, why? This, as I said before, this is the big one. This drives your culture. Okay, this goes into how you structure your people, how you reward your people, your marketing campaigns, your sales strategies. Everything is centered on why you're doing what you're doing, and why you are the person to do what you're doing. Okay, so take some time to actually articulate why you're taking this crazy trip. Okay, why are you going on this journey down this road of self-employment and creating a new business and all that joy and jazz and everything goes on that, all the drama and pain and heartache? Why are you doing it? Okay, you're insane. Well, no. Okay, so map out why, write it down. That will form the guts, the skeleton of everything you do. Okay. Skill sets and knowledge gaps. Now, when you're mapping that out, all right, and I really should put mentors and advisors second, because what you'll do is you'll look at where you're in, okay, and we'll take the business. I'm looking at starting with a friend of mine as an example. Okay, we have a certain set of skills. Okay, and over a lifetime, blah blah blah. But there's things that we can do. Okay, I've got a certain set. He has a different skill set. Okay, with a little bit of overlap there, but he does these things. I do these things, and we've got a big gap here. Stuff that we don't do. That's cool. We outsource later. Not interested in learning them. Haven't got time. Just not out of this. It's not what we do. Okay, so we bring in outside expertise. Okay, we bring in a couple of mentors, so we get the expertise for free, kind of. Okay, and that's cool, because sometimes the mentorship goes both ways. This is where you sit down and you're absolutely brutally honest about what your skills are, what your business partners, whether it's your husband, your wife, your life partner, your kids, your next door neighbour, Uncle John, whoever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You map out what they bring to the table. It might just be money. Okay, great. Okay, they bring money. Excellent. Done. And then Figure out everything you need to make the business work, to bring your great big idea to market successfully again and again and again. And this is where your mentors and advisors come on board, because they'll fill knowledge gaps. They'll tell you that there are things you need that you didn't even know you needed. Fine. If you can't fill that need yourself, if your business partners can't fill that need, then there's obviously need for an outsourcing. Be honest about it. Be brutally honest. And it's going to cost you some money. Well, congratulations, you're in business. Okay, nothing's for free. You have to spend some dollars there. Legal structure. Talk about spending some dollars. Legal structure. Talk to your accountant. Talk to your solicitor. You need to understand the risks in your business, not just general business risks, but ones specific to your business. Talk to your insurance broker, for God's sake. Get a feel for what your costs are going to be, about how you can best protect yourself, your assets, your customers, your staff, and get it set up right. At the start, it is a lot cheaper and smarter and smoother than trying to re-engineer halfway through the journey. And just a whole different set. I'm just going to share an anecdote with you. The day when I was in agribusiness, okay, I worked for one of Australia's largest agri-funders, and because of the nature of agribusiness, you have a lot of family partnerships, okay, mum, dad, the kids, a couple of brothers, whatever, okay. One of my bigger clients was a partnership of a number of families, all related, where one entity had inherited the farm on the death of the father, and the other bits and pieces of the family had come on board at different times. And so when I actually sat down, I took over this portfolio, and I sat down with these clients, and I had a look at what we had in front of us, and I went, wow. And it was a meeting of everybody. So we've got all these individuals sitting around the table. I said, okay, so we've got an entity here where you own these assets, and you own these assets in your name, and these ones with him, and those ones with him, but he has assets in his name, and then in joint names, and in all three, and there are no wife's names on anything. None. Okay, so what happens if he falls under a tractor? Well, I also look around and I said, well, hang on, because I think there was stuff in his name and the joint stuff. But where's that leave his wife in terms of ownership? Okay, it's going to be really messy to figure out. We don't really want to go to court over something like that. What about the kids? And what happens if these guys decide they want to go start their own business and want to leave the partnership? Have they actually got any equity in the stuff over here, which is only held in his name, just because they've added value by the fact that the business operation operates off all these different products? And they're just looking at me and said, mine is just getting started. Okay, there's a couple of obvious questions. I can spend half an hour, we can pull this into pieces. We'll talk about risk. But here's what's going to happen. You guys are going to go away, talk to your accountant and your solicitor, and you're going to come back with either a new structure with assets transferred in, or a partnership agreement which makes sure that everybody is covered in terms of risk, ownership and reward. Okay? When that's done, I'll give you a couple of weeks. Until that's done, we're not doing anything with the business from a banking point of view, because I just look at this, and to my mind, the risk of a messy restructuring in the event of an accident is too high for the bank's appetite. So, quickly wand it off. 3 weeks later, their accountant and the solicitor got together, big family meeting, so they'd spent a few dollars and a few of the dollars' friends, and they had restructured into a new entity with different shareholdings, different partnerships, and away we went. Now, I've just got a comment. My voice is very flaky. Yeah, I've been called flaky before, coming in and out. Yeah, it's probably because I keep shifting in the chair. What I will try to do, okay, is perhaps if I just sit here. All right. Hold on a second. Well, let's try. Okay, so we're back here. All right. Okay, let's try that. Is that better? Hopefully that solves the issue. If it's not, Okay. If it's not, just let me know. Okay. So legal structure is super critical. Okay, much better. Alrighty, I'll stay here then, and we'll just roll with that. Great. Thank you for the note. Right, now how? Again, self-explanatory. How are you going to do it? Like production, finance, marketing, admin, culture, people. Don't forget the why when it comes to setting all that up. Why are you doing it? Everything you do has to revolve around that core belief as to why you're the person to solve the problem. Okay? But map it out. Just take a minute. How are you going to do what you do? Sometimes it's very simple. Sometimes you simply buy an existing operation, you just need a bit of finance and everything keeps rolling on. That's great. That question get answered 3 seconds flat. Happy days. Sometimes you're building something from scratch. It's a manufacturing operation, so you need premises, you need staff, you need equipment, you need logistics to get raw materials in, you need supply lines, you need delivery lines on the other side so you can service your customers, you need a marketing program, you need sales. There's a whole 2-hour workshop just in setting up a business. So take your time, ask all the questions, ask the questions, friends. Don't skimp on that. Even if you know what you're doing, ask the question anyway, because I get caught up every now and then, and there are some friends of mine who remind me very sharply that, maybe I shouldn't assume so much. Even when I know what I'm doing, I get told to ask the questions anyway, because, somebody might have invented something new in the last 5 minutes. Who knows? Ask the questions, coming back then to mentors and advisors. Okay, don't skimp on the advice. A lot of it's free. Don't knock back free advice. Sometimes it's worth what you pay for it, but don't knock back the advice. And then the timelines. Okay, it's all right if you're wrong on the timelines, but lay them out, because if you've got a deadline, it gives you something to aim at, and it provides a bit of urgency, it provides a bit of accountability. So don't skip on the timelines, and in the timelines for each stage, include your exit stage. Now, that doesn't have to be welded on steel. All right, the date can be a bit flexible. It can just be when you think you want to get out. Now, I've had a business where I had a 10-year plan, but I got a really cool offer in year 6. I went, look, tell you what, that'll do. I'll take the money and we'll walk away and do something else, because I've got some other ideas percolating away, things I'd like to do. So, I'm exiting early. That's cool. I got the money I wanted. Happy. Return on investment's good. We're gone. Okay. And I did that with the next business, where after 4 years, there was an opportunity to exit. I went, well, I was going to run 5 years and have a look. I'm getting out a year early. I'm still getting the money I want, still getting that return on investment. Cool. Then we'll go and do something else. All right. So lay the timelines out. Be aware, just be aware there's going to be some flexibility there, and away we go. Okay. Now, this is where you start doing your real research. You start digging down into your market. You have a look at your competitors, because you get some ideas from there. It won't just be ideas in terms of what you should do and how you should go about things. It will tell you things you shouldn't do. Now, have a look at the mistakes your competitors are making. Have a look at things you can do better, which is kind of the reason you're going into the game in the first place. Right? Learn from them. And here is where you really tap deeply into your network, build a network, okay, and start seeking some red hot advice, because you'll be surprised. I guarantee you, you'll be surprised how many business people are willing to share their time and their knowledge for free. Okay, if you've got the resolve, or if you've got the mental guts to stand up and ask for it. Okay, you go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and there's a lot of knowledge in the room, an awful lot. Okay, some of it, not useful, not specific to your circumstances, but there's people there who know things that you need to know. I think you'll find, if you get in there and you ask, that they will come to the party and they'll give you some advice. And sometimes it's quid pro quo. Okay, you will know things that they need to know about. You can help them, and the advice goes 2 ways. That's fine. That's how it works. Don't be afraid to stand up on your back legs, demonstrate your total commitment to your ideas, and seek help, because it's out there. It truly is out there. Okay. Now, yay, we've done all the hard work. We're ready to go. Well, we think we've done the hard work. We're ready to go, and you open the doors. And I've been there a couple of times where you just unlock the door. It's brand new. I've walked into a shop where we've got brand new fit out, sparkling new staff. Everybody's super pumped. Right, super pumped. It's such a good feeling. Okay. This is when it gets real. Yep. There are no shortcuts. No, there are not. It's going to take the time and the effort it requires. It'll take the time it takes. Okay. So be honest a bit with your timelines, and it's not a job. No. Okay. If you're in business now, you know exactly what I'm saying. You don't start at 9 and knock off at 5. I think little anecdote with that one. Okay. I mean, these are my 3 mantras I keep telling people when they're just getting into business. Right. It's getting real. Okay. There's no shortcuts, and it's not a job. All right. You work the hours you work. I had a coffee van for a while, and which we built a catering business off the back of. It was kind of, it grew out of control almost. And when I started that, I had a few friends said, so what, you start at 7, knock off at lunchtime, pretty cruisy, drive around. I said, well, actually, we start at 6, okay, getting set up and then getting out to our client base. And I knock off, do the last coffee sort of 1:32-ish kind of, and then go home, you got to clean the van, you got orders for the next day, you've got a whole heap of paperwork to do, mate. This is a simple business, turned over reasonable to serious money. I got very serious money at the end. And no, it's not 9 to 5. It's not an 8-hour-a-day job. And that was just my catering business. You think about it if you're running staff, production facilities, or if you're doing software development and you're dealing with an overseas team, particularly dealing with an overseas team, it's not 9 to 5. So don't kid yourself, all right? When you're looking at what you're doing, do not for one moment think that it's going to be 6 or 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, happy days, off to play golf. Right? Maybe after 20 years, sure, but not at the start. Now, we're in production, okay? This is where you're going to get tested every day. I was told once there's only 3 problems in business: people, people, and people. And that's true, okay? It'll be your customers, your staff, and yourself. That's cool, because there are also 3 elements, in my experience, there are 3 elements of absolute delight in business, and they are people, people, and people. All right, because I've had staff and customers, and some of those things I've done, I sat back and go, wow, that was good. That's why we do this. Okay, that's why we're in business. All right. Now the timeline for this production phase is how long's a piece of string? I said back when we talk about timelines, just be honest. Okay, some businesses are almost project based, and your timeline is measured in months. Okay, is what it is. Sometimes they take years, usually. And that's okay, but just be honest about it. All right, because during this production phase, you're actually setting in for the grind. Okay, for the day after day after day after day after day, delivering the solution that you are the right person to deliver for the right reasons, which is why you built the business that everything revolves around. Okay, that's where you need to keep focused on that. And that's one of the big reasons I hammered right at the start. Be very clear and honest about why you are the person to do what you're doing. Because there'll be days when you sit down and look at your business and go, what am I putting myself through all this drama? And you simply reflect back on why and answer your own question. Stay focused on that, make it the core of everything you do. And when you hit those bumps and those roadblocks, you just roll on through them. Okay, lose a bit of skin on the way through, but you know why you're doing it. And you come out the other side and you keep going. And you get those really cool days where everything works really well. Now, discipline. I cannot hammer discipline hard enough. You need strong systems and processes. They are your best friends, okay? Cash flow, sales, people, they all need a framework, okay? You don't guess. When you look at some startups, and so much of that is guess this, guess that, and trying to find a way through. But I'll tell you now, when you find something that works, a way of doing things that works and is repeatable, document it. Okay, you have a system and a process. Document it every time. Okay, you need to be able to duplicate your efforts when you deliver that excellent customer service and people come back and buy from you again. Right? You need those strong systems and processes because you cannot, will not, and should not do everything yourself. That's why we have teams around us. Okay, you have external advisors, you have staff, you have business partners. It's not just you. Okay, document what you do successfully. All right, keep that in place, because once you get those frameworks, again, coming back to the why, you hit the roadblocks, you just go straight through because you've got a way of dealing with it. Okay, you've got a reason and a way of doing things. And there's also a really, really cool reason for doing that properly, which we'll get to at the end. All right. But it comes back to discipline, strong systems, strong processes, the discipline to repeat the stuff that works every day. Okay, now I've worked with and owned franchises, and they have very strong systems and processes. And sometimes you just need to educate the franchisee and say, listen, don't reinvent the wheel. Okay, if you want to reinvent the wheel, you shouldn't buy a franchise. You should go do your own thing. If you've got a franchise, the reason you're buying it, or one of the big reasons, is the systems that are there. Like they've got a good, I mean, McDonald's. Okay, let's pick the obvious guy in the room. Okay, McDonald's are a massively successful franchise because they have a very strong system and process, and everybody does things the same way every time, and the customers keep coming back and giving you their money. Look, it works. Okay, systems and process. Now, the other thing is improvements. My favourite flavour. Okay, I love fixing problems. I love improving things. Right. The time to think about improving your business, okay, about monitoring performance and identifying issues and opportunities, the time you do that is the day you start operations, right? When you go into the production phase, you open the door for the first time, that's when you start thinking about improvements, okay? You want to do things like develop strategies to build repeat business. If you want to talk about that, come back tomorrow. I'll spend an hour chatting with you about some really cool strategies for making that happen. Okay, if you're a one-off purchase or service, you need referral business. Okay, how are you going to do that? Your staff turnover is too high. That can be a real issue. I had that problem for a while in one of my businesses, and we fixed that because it was in my hiring process. I was simply picking the wrong people to start with, without quite realising the qualities we needed. And once we figured out what we actually needed, when we started operating and thought that what we needed was not what we were told we needed, and discovered that sometimes the advice you get is not always right, then we solved that problem. Sometimes your turnover is too low because you've got people on board who really are holding the business back, but they won't leave. Somebody questioned me once. I used to send my staff, when I was in a franchise, I would send them on every training course I possibly could. Okay, if a franchise ran a course, I want to have my guys there every time. So they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I would rather have highly trained staff who then leave than have untrained, incompetent staff who stay." All right. So when you think about training as an opportunity to upskill your staff, and they may go, happens, but at least then you've still got a skilled core behind you can build around. It's the people who don't go sometimes are an issue. So think about a strategy of moving them on. You've got production inefficiencies. Okay. And yesterday I spoke about ways of measuring some of those production efficiencies. Okay. It's an opportunity. Your cash flow is constrained. Spoke about that yesterday. It's an opportunity to improve the business, right? Your competitors are developing better products or a better way of getting to market. That's why you keep an eye on them. It's an opportunity to improve the business. Starts the day you open the doors, and it never stops. Okay, but again, this is something you can actually build a system for, where you have a way of looking at the business, and you don't have to do it every day. Okay, some people do. I used to do it by habit. I'll just walk around and say, what needs fixing? Okay, what can we improve? And that's just me. Okay, it's just one of my little idiosyncrasies. I'll sit down once a month and have a good hard look at everything that's going on and say, what can we do better? Okay, and I do that with some of my clients, where we'll actually get their financials, we'll run some ratios on them, and actually look at what's driving cash flow, what are the performance indicators telling us, and then we'll go through their staff. We'll spend a couple of hours doing this. Have a look at the staff, who's working well, who's not working well, how do we fix that? Okay, is it a staff issue? Is it a production issue? Is it a personality issue? Is it simply a training? Like, what's the problem? Is it training? Is it the fact that it's Thursday? They don't like working Thursdays. Is it a whatever? And we make a formal process once a month, have a good look at the business from on top. And that's the challenge we all face as business owners, is that we are so deep in the business, especially in those early days, particularly in those early days, you're so deep in it that you actually can't see from on top what's going on, right? It's the old, work on your business, not in your business adage. Well, yeah, that's very cute to say when you're just starting and you need to be in the business making it happen. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But have a process where once a week, month, quarter, whatever, more often than quarterly, I would suggest, at the very least once a month, you take a step back, step up and you sit down and look down at the business where you're just out of it a bit and say, okay, what's going on now? Where are the roadblocks? Where are things working really well? Because if they're working really well, let's duplicate that. Okay, how can we use that in other areas of the business? How can we run off the back of that and make that even better? Okay, take the time, again, I'm sort of pushing this a bit, but it's so important to take the time to take a step back and up, have a look at what's going on, find the areas to improve, and improve them. Okay, if you can't improve them, like if you've got a system, something that simply can't be fixed, okay, is it critical to the business? Can you fix it or get rid of it and doing something else? And if not, how can you work around it? And if you get to the point where there's something in your business which simply doesn't work well, but it is what it is, there's nothing you can do about that, great. Identified, noted, move on. All right, don't hover over it and spend years going, oh, how can I fix this? If it's not fixable, it's not fixable. Okay, if you just, it's part of the business, moving on. Okay, but have the courage to acknowledge sometimes when something simply can't be changed and you just need to work with it and live with it. All right, it does happen in all businesses. Nothing is perfect. There's sometimes there's things you simply can't do anything about, and that's fine. Now, this is the exciting part. Okay, we went a little quicker than we thought. A few of those questions that I usually get. That's cool. Exit stage left. This is the thing that you plan right back at the start, and this is one reason I hammered structure so much. Because if you're going to exit, you want to have the structure set up to make that exit as painless and as revenue positive as possible. Okay. Now, I really couldn't tell you how many business owners I've spoken to in the last 30 years where they do not have an exit strategy. Not even anything more complicated than, oh, mate, I'll just sell the business and go to the beach. That's it. That's their exit strategy. It's like, really, mate. That's it. Like, you're not planning any more than that. Okay. Do it at the start. Okay. You've done what you set out to do. You've solved the problem again and again and again, and it's time to take on another challenge, or it's time to do something different. I mean, maybe it's just getting your golf handicap down to 2 digits instead of 3. I don't know. Whatever it is for you. You've got a new big shiny idea, and I've done that twice, like I said before, where I've had other business ideas percolating, and I've had the opportunity to exit early and take on a new challenge. That suits me down to the ground. Okay, the time was right, the money was right, boom, I'm gone. Okay, yes, it was not at the planned exit stage, but it ticked every other box, so I'm out the door. Okay, so let's have a look at, well, actually, let's come back before we do that. You will find, particularly if you're just getting into business now, that it is going to suck up your life. Okay, and they just do, and that's fine, provided you know that's what's going to happen. That's why you plan the exit early. Okay, we'll look at there's 3 common ways. Okay, I've taken out bankruptcy and a liquidator walking in the door. Okay, so let's just look at trade sale, the family handover, which, going back to my agribusiness days, saw a lot of that done well and not so well. Okay, the buyout by staff, the management buyout, participated in a few of those, again, well, not so well. And this liquidation, which I actually have done personally with and we'll get to that. It's not quite what you think. Okay. Trade sale. Now, if you're going to take the trade sale approach, as in simply put the business on the market, somebody else, your competitor, somebody wants to get in, whoever comes in and buys it, if that's what you want to do, when you're planning your business right at the start, okay, right back at the beginning, get a business broker to come in and have a chat, because they do that it's what they do. Okay, they're one of the advisors that you need on your little panel of advisors is a business broker, and they will tell you what prospective purchasers look for. They'll tell you how you need to present your business to the market to extract the most value for it. Okay, now I can tell you right now, I'm not a business broker, I've worked with 1 or 2, but I can tell you right now what you're going to need: clarity, clarity, clarity. Okay, your customer base, your record keeping, the performance of your cash flow drivers, your business systems. I'm not talking about documenting your systems and processes. This is one of the big reasons why you need to be able to show to an incoming purchaser that they can walk in and everything is there that tells them how the business does what it does. They don't have to reinvent anything. They don't have to guess. If they want to change stuff, that's fine. In fact, some people buy businesses because they've got ideas on how to improve. In fact, you can give them ideas. So say that new products, new sales channels, new ways of doing things that you haven't had the opportunity or the drive to implement. Okay, this is where this all comes to the table. So you can say to the incoming purchaser, here, I've made it as easy as possible. Okay, it's all clear. There's no guesswork around the numbers. There's no guesswork around how we do it or why we do it. It's all there, nice and clear. Because I can tell you, I've worked on a few business purchases. I think a few of them, and you walk in and you look at the accounts and you look at the operation, and I've just shaken my head. It's just like, man, are you serious? How can I go to a bank or a finance company and say, give them the money, it's running well, we know exactly what's going on? How can I tell your story? And that's what you're doing. You're telling your story to not only the person who's walking and wanting to buy it, but to whoever's funding it, which may be them, but usually isn't. Okay, they need to be able to tell a bank, and they tend to be rather cynical, pragmatic on their best day operations, exactly what's going on and why the numbers are repeatable and why it's a good buy. And so set it up nice and clear at the start, and when you want to get out the door, it's much easier. Now, family handover or buyout, look, really, this is just a variation on a trade sale. Okay. Now, again, if you're planning early, you can bring in family members who have the skill set, the passion to do what you do. Okay. Now, skills can be developed. We all know that, but it's the passion that really counts. Now, if you're going to go down this path, all right, you've got to put that succession strategy in place as early as possible. And it may well be that you've got a 20-year plan, and you're hoping the kids will grow up, and in 10 or 15 years, they'll be that deep in the business they want to take over. Well, that's great. Well, then that's the plan, all right? Now, having said that, don't forget everything we mentioned previously with the trade sale, with your clarity, with your systems, with your processes, all that stuff still applies, because you want the handover to be smooth, right? Especially if it's a management buyout. Even though they're in the business, it doesn't mean they understand everything that's going on. Okay, not by a long shot. So make it as simple and as clear as possible. And when you go down this path and the date and the handover day happens, walk away. Unless, of course, you've got a clause saying a handover clause of 3 months where you're going to stay in there and make sure there's a smooth transition. At the end of that, walk away. Okay, I've seen 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. Family buyouts where the parents have not walked away. Particularly, it was dad in 2 of the 3 cases. In the 3rd case, it was mum and dad, and they just couldn't let go. Right? They stayed involved, just fully, and it just caused problems. Okay, if you're going to do this, all right, when the day comes to hand over the keys, go play golf, go to the beach, go fishing, go off in your adventure, whatever. But that's handover day. Walk away, let the new team run. Okay. Now, the other one, liquidation. Now, this is usually an option of last resort, but sometimes the business relies entirely on your skill set. And when I said I'd liquidated a business, the coffee van that we were running was purely me. Okay. Now, we expanded that into a big catering operation, then we sold off the catering business and we just had the coffee van. That was just me. And to be honest, yeah, you can sell them, and that's fine. They sell and trade all the time. But this one we went, look, no, we're just simply going to sell. We're just going to liquidate it, sell the bits and pieces. Right? There's not really a book there of clients that is sellable. Okay, we wound it down a fair bit, took all the money out that we could, and then we went off on to our next new adventure. Right? So if you're going to go down this path, if you're going to be honest about your business, say, listen, at the end of the day, it's all me, it's all project driven. Without my skill set, there is no business. Then set it up that way at the start and make sure you get enough funds, get all the money out of it that you can to fund the next thing that you do. Right? And it's blindingly obvious. It's a really simple strategy, but you just need to be honest with yourself at the start when you're planning it and say, okay, here's where we're going to go. Then that's the strategy, and you execute the strategy to make sure you maximize the revenue. If there's no long-term value to be built, then do not spend any time on activities that would build any sort of long-term value, because you're wasting your time. Maximize the cash flow, get the cash out into other assets, and away you go. Okay. Now, any questions? Fire away. Now there are my contact details. Okay. Note those down if you like. You can contact me by email. You can call me. You can text me. I really don't mind. We can deal with specific issues related to your business offline. In fact, I would prefer that. So if you've got something you want to ask that pertains specifically to your business, let's save that for one-on-one chat. The other thing is that tomorrow, at the same time, same bat channel, We're going to be running through some customer retention, some advocacy strategies, basically repeat buying approach. Got about 25, 30 odd little slides we'll run through, and still have some fun. Tomorrow's my favourite webinar. We'll have some fun. But when it comes to today, okay, with your basic mindset, the stages you're going to go through, and the strategies you need to implement, fire away. Okay, you got my contact details there. Hopefully you've written those down. And if we have any other questions, roll on. Okay. Yep, we have run a little bit early today. That's interesting. All right, well, there's no more questions. I'll just deal with that one. Okay, so there's no more questions. I'll wind this up. Thank you very much for attending. I appreciate you coming along. And we will see you all hopefully tomorrow. If not, we will catch you at a later date. And I trust you got something up to date. That would be wonderful. Cheers.